Hello everybody, welcome back to another Cybernetic strategy development log. This will be devlog 3 and this is going to be a shorter one. And I'm going to show off a small three-piece trait called Gundam. So Gundam is, I think most people know what Gundams are. They're the big cool Japanese anime mech robots that like have swords and lasers, guns, and all that cool stuff. So, in this game, we have a small three-piece trait consisting of different Gundams. So I'm going to show off the three Gundams first, and then I'm going to show off their trait ability. So, getting right into it, our first Gundam is Nova Burst. Nova Burst is a 2-cost attack marksman, so they're ranged, and they have the Gundam trait and the Phaser trait. The Phaser trait is essentially just gives you some AD, and I'll show you. So, Nova Burst has 30 mana, and their ability is to get basically an attack speed steroid for 6 seconds, and then during this time they have boosted attack speed, and their attacks also hit the 3 nearest enemies. It does a little bit of damage. You see 20 damage. It scales with their AD, and it also does a max percent of the target's health. So at 1 star it's 2%, 2 stars 4%, and 3 stars 8%. So this way Nova Burst has a good upfront damage, but then can also kind of tickle the backline, tickle a couple of enemies, so kind of get that damage spread. And if there's less than 3 enemies, the bonus projectiles can stack on the same target. So if you're hitting one target only, you'll get a good amount of bonus damage. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. Yeah, nothing too crazy there. Pretty simple 2-cost. I'm gonna just actually reset the thing. Yeah, and then the 3-cost is Overstrike. Overstrike is Gundam trait and the Hyperdrive trait. Hyperdrive is essentially the attack speed scaling thing, and they're an attack fighter, and they have a very big sword. You'll notice, pretty cool. Nothing too crazy. Very simple. They have a passive that their attacks hit in a cone. But if they only hit one single enemy, it does 35% more damage. And then their active is just another kind of steroid. For the rest of combat, they'll gain attack speed, movement speed, and healing. And healing is the trait that heals you based off of how much damage you do. So if you can get to it's a 90 mana cost, so it's kind of expensive. But you'll start off with like 60 or 70. So you'll get that first cast off, and then that'll give you some survivability right away. And then you can see you'll start stacking up that like movement speed, that attack speed, and you can just really start slapping people with a sword really quickly. Works really well with the Gundam trait, which I will showcase in a moment. But yeah, pretty fun unit, pretty standard 3-cost. Yeah, kind of the fantasy where you just start running, zipping everywhere, and you just start slapping the hell out of like all the enemies, and you're gaining that healing. So like you see a 3.3% attack speed and then 72% healing. Can be a little nutty if you can get them stacked up. That's Overstrike. And then finally the 4-cost of the trait, Prime 78. Prime 78 is a fun unit. They are 3 traits. They have Gundam, Overclocked, and Alloyed, which I will get into these traits in a separate devlog. But Alloyed is just like damage reduction, but their their ability is pretty interesting. So what they'll do is they will dash to the optimal position in that like general area, so they can hit the most amount of enemies in a line. Obviously this isn't like, there's only one enemy here, but you'll see. And then they'll fly up and then target the most enemies and spin and do a big ground slam, dealing slightly less damage, but good considerable damage. They are 4-cost. So you see we have base, like you'll do overall like by default like around 666 damage. That's a funny coincidence. Yeah, by default. And then you'll see works really good against multiple enemies, and with that Alloyed trait you can really get tanky, and also during the flight time Prime 78 is what's it called, untargetable. So has that little bit of built-in survivability while also being a real menace with all these knockups and stuff, which is pretty cool, pretty interesting. And you see it is definitely fun to watch. I'm a personal fan of this unit. But now for the big thing, the Gundam trait. So, at the start of combat, your strongest Gundam absorbs all other Gundams, becoming the mighty Gundam and growing massive and gaining bonus stats. It's only one breakpoint, which is a 3-piece, and you get 100% of the absorbed Gundam's HP, attack damage, and ability power, and you benefit from their traits. So you see, like, Prime 78 has the 3 traits, Overstrike has these 2 traits, and then Nova Burst has these 2 traits. So the way strongest works is it'll start off by it goes star level, then cost, and then when items are in the game, then items will take priority over everything, of course. But for now, since we have the 4 cost, 3 cost, 2 cost, Prime 78 will be the strongest, and when I press fight, you'll see the line, and he grows massive, and pretty cool. Then you look at the stats, and he's gained, they've gained a lot of HP, a lot of AD, pretty cool stuff. And what's cool is Prime 78's radius actually does scale. The ability radius does scale with the size, so they work really well with Gundam. You can see the square is much bigger than it was before. Yeah, pretty cool. Not a very simple trait, just, you know, for people who really want to see a big cool mech robot. This is a trait for you. Pretty simple to get into. It's a 2 cost, 3 cost, 4 cost. I am considering putting in a 2-piece, so you don't have to wait all the way into the game where you get the 4 cost, and maybe you can just play it with Nova Burst and Overstrike, which definitely something I'm considering. You know, if it makes sense, then totally. And then I can show you, like, if Nova Burst is a 2-star, now Nova Burst is the strongest, and boom, they grow bigger, and they get a bunch of AD, a bunch of, well, there's no ability power, but a bunch of health and a bunch of attack damage by default, and, you know, pretty cool. So if you ever want to try to, you know, have a 3-star Nova Burst build, and you can have this ginormous, super tanky, super strong backline unit that can basically solo teams if your frontline does die, can be a pretty cool power fantasy to have. Especially with, like, you know, Nova Burst really loves just having a bunch of AD, since everything scales off of that, especially the bonus projectiles. And then same thing, similar logic with Overstrike. Overstrike is just a big tanky melee fighter who really loves having, what's it called? Just the big stats, a lot of the health, a lot of the AD, because they are an attack-based character. I'll show you the same thing. Now, Overstrike's a 2-star, and then they grow big. They have that massive sword, and, you know, the effect's pretty cool. I think it looks pretty nice. And you see, like, 3.4k health, 210 AD. Those, especially that cleave, those big autos are gonna hit like a truck. And then not to mention the stacking attack speed and healing. Nova Burst really loves being the Gundam, and that's what's cool. The trait is diverse. These units all enjoy having, you know, being the big star of the show. And then obviously, if you can get to it, having Prime 78, as I first showed, as your Gundam is definitely the probably the easiest way to play it. Yeah, that's about everything from me today. That's the Gundam trait. You know, hope you guys enjoyed watching this shorter devlog. But yeah, I'll keep coming out with these type of videos, hopefully in the future. But I hope you guys enjoy and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.